Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of using Automize. Today we're going to talk about the network tab. So to remember to access Automize, you can do right click, inspect element, and then click on the little plugin symbol. So here's Automize. The network tab is this button right here. And as you can see, we have no network events. Now I'll talk about this test website that I made. So here there's a header value, text input that you can enter some kind of text and request some number of colors. When you make the network request, so as you can see, it shows up in the Automize tab as well as the network tab. So here's that request right there. So when you make the request, you get the number of colors you requested back. So here's 5. We have 5 back. It's going to echo the request header. So here in my request header, I say I love Automize. It gives it right back to us in the response header, as well as another header that says hello from the server and a Boolean that says, in our case, no access. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So the request, when we made that request, we attached my custom header is I love Automize, which was this value right here. And then we sent over a color count in the payload. Okay, so that would be this right there. Our response is right here. So we get the server header, which is hello from the server, which is right there. And then my custom header that says I love Automize, which is right here. Lastly, it gets the colors. So here are those 5 random colors. And then this is just the request headers in the body that we don't use on this website. Okay, so now what you can do is you can click on your network event. And so as you can see, I have stuff here and my tab looks like this. If yours doesn't look like this, it's probably because you have an unsupported language. So if I pick something like CSS, which CSS is for styling, you cannot do anything with network events. It's just going to say language is not supported. One exception to this is if you have it on regular JavaScript, it's going to look a little funky. You're missing some. It's because this is like just the fetch client JavaScript stuff. So if I just wanted to fetch the body count, that's what this would look like. And then we could do post. So I could just copy this and we could throw this right in the browser and you could see, I think, let's see. I think this should work. So if we did this, and then we did, JSON. So here are those colors. So you can just do that in the browser if you wanted to use regular JavaScript. But we're not going to want to do that. We're going to use Playwright, as I think it's just the easiest. So URL, that's self-explanatory. There's a matching, so you can do an includes or start with if you have a reason for that. And then you can request, you can expect or force the request and the response. Probably most likely what you're going to want to do is just force a response. So in our case, why don't we force the response? We don't care about request headers. So instead of this, let's change the colors. Why don't we just give ourselves, we'll get rid of this. Let's give ourselves 2 colors. This one is going to be coffee. And this one, we'll just make it all these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. Okay, so there's 2 colors in here, and then let's slow it down. So let's delay the response by 2 seconds. Milliseconds is over here, and status is fine, whatever it comes in. Now, if I was using this in a script, I would just copy and paste this and move along. So here's our route. It looks like we're grabbing this, we're waiting our 2 seconds, and then we're fulfilling it with our mock body, which is in here. So all those request headers, colors, and the access. Also, why don't we modify that access as well? So this access, instead of it being false, let's switch that to true to see what this looks like. So we'll leave it as is, and as you can see, it updated here as well. So I could just copy this, move on, but Automize also has a handy feature where I want to make sure that this works before I go putting it in my script. So I can push simulate event, and what it'll do is it'll simulate it in my browser. So now when I make this network request, I hit this button, and we go to network tab. So as you can see, after the, I believe, how long was that supposed to be? 2 seconds? Okay, I can explain this. So that felt a little longer than 2 seconds. You may have noticed. The reason is because it also matched, and I only know this because I just got done doing this. It matched our options request as well as a post. So it waited 2 seconds on this, and then it waited 2 seconds on this. To fix that, we're also going to we're going to make sure that this is the post one. So if we do stop, well, it's going to leave the same colors. But yeah, just keep that in mind. You want to make sure you're matching on the right URL. So As you can see, the color coffee showed up, color E showed up here. There's only 2 colors, even though we requested 5. And then now it says, oh, look at that, we have access. So that's just a little convenient way that you can test this in the browser. I can show some other things. So for example, what if we modified that request header? So let's turn off this. So we're not going to force anything. This is fine. Let's force. Oops. So why don't we force this? Let's force this request header. So one thing you can do is it'll use the header that came with the request unless you explicitly set it to null. So for now, we'll just rewrite this. So I'm going to say I hate Automize. Okay. So when I save that, it says I hate Automize, and we're going to intercept the request, and we're going to leave all the headers except for this one, which we're going to modify to say I hate Automize. And then remember, our server just echoes back what we sent to it. So it's not simulating right now. If we just put in some garbage, we make this, it's going to come back and say, I love it. Basically whatever we have here. But when we simulate it and we make this request, it's just going to get intercepted and set to I hate Automize. So if I could just copy this code, and that's exactly how it would work in your script. Okay, so now what if I want to remove this entirely? Well, what you can do is you can set this to null. So what this will say is use it, but in this case it's null. So just delete this entirely from it. So let's see, if we stop and then we restart the simulation, this might actually crash the server. I'm not sure how it's set up. So it says undefined. Okay, so as you can see, and then we can verify that by going into our network tab, coming in here, and then that would be our request header. And we would not expect to see the, but I don't even remember what that was called. My custom header. Let's see here, my custom header. Yeah, it's not in there. So yeah, so that's how you would delete things off of headers, and it works the same way for the response. If you want to remove a header from the response, you need to select it. Oops. So you would sorry, you can't force a request and force a response. That doesn't make any sense. You would force a response, and then you would set the one that you don't want. Oops. Let's get out of here. Oh, sorry. You would set a one. So let's say we want to block the cores headers. Let's see what that looks like. So let's get rid of. Is all we need, I think. So these would be our cores headers. What happens if we remove the cores headers? Hint, it'll probably crash our website. Let's see. So if we push simulate, we do this network request. Yeah, we got our errors here because of that. So yeah, that's how you would simulate a request, and you can mix and match here. You can change the status, change the language, and there's all kinds of stuff. One thing to note is if you're using Puppeteer, you may notice that it uses some syntax that you may not be familiar with. All of this fetch dot request pause and all this client, this CDP session. The reason it does this is because of the header extension. Puppeteer out of the box doesn't let you extend headers. If you do it this way, it will. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 3, and I hope you're continuing to enjoy Automize. If you have any questions or video ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments.